Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Today in Manufacturing podcast. With me today are Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells. We each have about 15 years of experience covering the manufacturing industry. Each week, we take the 5 biggest stories on our website and discuss the implications they have on the industry going forward. Before we get started, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcast or whatever platform it is you use. Finally, if you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, Anna, or David at IEN.com with email the podcast in the subject line. And for starters, if you're watching the video, you could talk about how banging the new studio is, right, Jeff?
Awesome. This place is fantastic. Set up extremely well by our sort of talented AV people.
Our extremely talented AV people
okay.
from highly accredited colleges. Anna, how are you doing this week?
I think they prefer AV nerds.
Yeah, that was their official title at first until Boss Man found out about it. Shut that down real quick.
Oh, really? We can't have nerd on the website?
No. He was quite upset. He's like, whose idea was this? And then I denied it. Oh, very good. But either way, it's great to be in the same space, be able to see everybody in the same room. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so far, I've done 2 interviews here, and the coolest thing it's been called is the holodeck. So...
Oh,
yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if we could find a better name, I challenge you to provide it. But right now, that is in the lead.
Not bad.
In a race of 1, but still awesome. All right. Our top story this week. Amazon reportedly firing drivers with algorithm. A lot of blame is put on HR departments for doing a company's dirty work. Also, they're often terrible. That might be why Amazon has turned to algorithms for hiring and firing flex delivery drivers. Amazon uses millions of subcontracted drivers for punctual deliveries. Essentially freelance employees, drivers register on an app where they can select shifts, coordinate deliveries, and report problems. According to a Bloomberg report, the algorithm powers a system that monitors performances and can even terminate employees. These delivery drivers are having problems with locked apartment complexes and flat tires, but it's not that they're incompetent, but they're still getting fired. And if a driver wants to plead his or her or their case, it costs $200 to dispute the termination. Anna, I guess if you're fighting for your job, $200 isn't too much.
All right. Yeah. First of all, I liked your sick burn on HR departments back there.
Yeah, they can all, do. Never mind. I can't say anything.
No, you can't because HR will find out.
That's right.
And then you'll get in trouble. So Amazon is trying to brush off some of the anecdotal reports that have been going around about this situation. I think they make it sound like these anecdotal reports do not represent the experience of the majority of flex drivers. In fact, they said that verbatim, basically. Mm-hmm. But they do have to kind of acknowledge that some of these are making them look bad. Like there was a report in Business Insider that detailed the case of Nedra Lira, a mom of 3 in Texas who had served as a contract delivery driver for Amazon for about 3 years before she was abruptly fired via this algorithm. So according to Lyra, her car was later repossessed with her kids' Christmas presents inside, and she almost lost her house. And while I feel like these last 2 points are sort of sensational, mostly irrelevant details, like I don't think Amazon had anything to do with her Christmas presents being in her car like weeks later. Mm-hmm. Right. But the point is, she was considered to be in, quote, great standing when she was evaluated shortly before she was fired. And drivers have told Bloomberg that the algorithm has some failure points, including its inability to decipher, like if drivers are waiting in a long line waiting for pickup, or if they have, as you said, like maintenance problems. Mm-hmm. The algorithm doesn't know that. So they just move forward with these drivers are delinquent, they're late, whatever. So you have to believe that some of these drivers are being terminated probably unfairly due to glitches in this technology.
Jeff, it seems like there's a lot of room for error here.
I guess, but you were talking about human resources. There's a lot of room for error when you've got human beings doing something as well. Mm-hmm. So, excuse me. I think that this is actually a pretty novel approach. Mm-hmm. I think Amazon's, when you're dealing with these individuals, these are not employees. That's kind of a term that's been slipped in here. And I know we use it sort of as a, sort of covering every basis because they're working for Amazon, but they're 100% freelance. These are folks that are qualified by Amazon to do this because they've got the right vehicle, they've got the time to do it, all that kind of stuff. But this, at the end of the day, is their decision to do this work for Amazon. Okay. They don't make a ton of money doing it. This is actually kind of a rough gig. I mean, 18 to 25 bucks an hour on average, although it does depend on the type of stuff you're hauling, how many packages you deliver, how well you do it, all of that type of thing. But I don't know. And you don't even get paid for gas or anything like that. It's all on you to do this. So if Amazon wants to take this approach, I understand why, because at the end of the day, Amazon's the one on the hook. They're not saying, hey, I'm going to blame David Manti for my Amazon package not getting here. They're going to blame Amazon. So if this is the approach that Amazon wants to take with this group of freelancers, that I could see this almost being kind of like a herding cats situation. You've got this many people out there shuffling this many pieces of cargo or whatever you want to call it, deliveries from Amazon. I can see how this could save a lot of time in sort of weeding out people who are picking stuff up, taking their time, takes all day to get there. Why continue to do that if it's going to diminish the reputation of your company?
So it kind of works like Uber internally for Amazon.
Exactly.
Okay. Is this their answer to last mile delivery problems that they've had with like post office, stuff like that?
Potentially. I mean, I think in looking at I thought that these guys were going to be getting paid a little better, like per mile or some sort of gas. Maybe there is differences once you get into the program for a bit, but according to the site, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. I mean, it's your maintenance on your vehicle. It's your gas cost, everything else. It's up to you to keep your vehicle up to spec and so it can handle all these deliveries. And you have to be very proactive in terms of figuring out what makes sense for you to deliver and picking up, what do they call it? Their block, I believe, is what they call their deliveries for that set amount of time. Okay. So it does take a lot on the individual going in, knowing what they're going to have to deal with. As far as handling the last mile, potentially. But I mean, I think it's more of a cost savings option for Amazon, to be honest.
I did see that the company also uses this software to manage its warehouse workers. So it's not just the freelance workers. But I can't stand customer service bots as it is. So I can't imagine that I would keep my cool if I was fired by one. But then again, I've never really been one to keep my cool with HR either. So, but the idea of like the, it has 5 selections that it can provide you. Yeah. The email coming through, you've been fired. Why? No response. It seems a little bit more cold. And it's also a problem, when you take the human out of human resources, like you said, though employees, particularly at larger companies like Amazon, have long complained that they're just a number or a cog in the machine. And this just really enforces that notion, Anna.
Yeah, this woman in this Business Insider report, she said that when she appealed the decision, she basically got on this email chain with this group of people that she had never met. And they just kind of looked through the paperwork and denied her appeal. So they don't know anything about her. They don't know her. I mean, obviously, these are the risks, I guess, that you're assuming when you take this kind of a gig job. But it's not, like you said, Jeff, it's not an easy job,
I think it's kind of transparent, though, when you're going in. Now, it's still crappy if you're being treated disrespectfully, regardless of the circumstance. I get the frustration from their end of it. But from Amazon's, I don't know, I kind of get it.
I wonder how long you're out of work, though. I mean, if you really want it back with the worker shortage, I wonder if it's like you got to take 3 months and then they're like, all right, if you still got a car, we're good.
Yeah. And this case was in the fall, and this woman was a school bus driver and her job got eliminated because of the pandemic. And so she was doing this like more full time, I think, for Amazon. So maybe then it was not so easy to just bounce back. But now you would think, hopefully it is.
Right. It's good that the gig economy is there for struggling companies like Amazon to take advantage.
Right, exactly. And then once you get fired by a robot accidentally, you can just do something else.
Exactly. Our next most popular story this week, Navy ditches futuristic railgun. Last week, the U.S. Navy killed the electric railgun project. The futuristic weapon could fire projectiles at up to 7 times the speed of sound using electricity, just about 5,370 miles per hour. So probably not going to feel it anyways. The Navy spent more than a decade developing the electromagnetic railgun, but the Department of Defense is turning its attention to hypersonic missiles to keep up with China and Russia. While the Navy cut funding for the railgun in its last budget, it sounds more like a pause than a final nail in the coffin, as all research will be retained if and when the Office of Naval Research wants to resurrect the project. I mean, and it sounds like a futuristic idea, but but it really dates back to the 1940s. And Jeff, this has got to be a bummer because Rods from God is our #1 viewed video of all time on YouTube. So I'm sorry that this is the end for it now. It's a comma, not a period, right?
I think so, because I think one of the main application they were looking at for the railgun, I think was sort of not misplaced, but best possible outcome. Because when you're looking at putting a railgun on a naval ship, the amount of power that these weapons required is incredible. I mean, you're shooting roughly a 30-pound piece of metal at 5,400 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's great that it doesn't need any munitions, any gunpowder, anything like that, or any rocket booster. But still, to generate that much power, that much electrical power, you basically needed a power plant on the ship just for the railgun. And I think that's one of the areas that they were really struggling with. Plus, despite all of this energy, it was only good for like 110 miles.
Yeah,
the range on it.
Yeah.
So for a naval application, you're too close. That just doesn't work. I think when they do get a chance to revisit this from a purely defensive posture, I think there is an application for a railgun when you're in a fixed position. However, with a lot of the stuff we've been talking about in terms of military trends and where the new developments are coming from, it's we need to go island to island type thing. It's smaller, it's more mobile, at times autonomous. Okay. So I think that's all of those things were sort of working against the railgun in terms of how much energy it required. Just the fact that we're not looking for huge, big guns anymore. We're looking at smaller stuff that's easier to shoot from longer away. And that's where the hypersonics come in. It's funny because they're actually slower than the railgun.
Yeah.
They've just got, roughly 17 times the distance.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and they said a normal gun can be fired 600 times before the barrel has to be refurbished. The railgun prototype was good for about a dozen. So,
Oof.
yeah, it's just, the power is ridiculous. It's incredible.
yeah. Anna, what were your thoughts on the temporary demise of the railgun?
I don't know. All I could really look at was that just tremendous cash output behind it, and just to get nothing out of that. I don't know. I mean, so this project started in 2005. In 2017, reports started to emerge declaring that this railgun may be dead. And then at that time, in 2017, they were saying that the R&D that had been spent to that date was $500 million. Today, we're told that these won't see combat, and the R&D bill that this article cites that we ran is $500 million, which I feel like maybe that tab has gotten a little bit higher in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, even if that tech hasn't really advanced, they're hanging on to it. You can't just keep it in limbo for no dollars. So, the funding is getting cut right this year, but we don't know how much has actually been spent on this project. And that's disappointing. Although I get it that the military has to take some really expensive risks when it comes to technology. I mean, we rely on the military to do that, but it doesn't take away from the fact that this is really an insane amount of money for this project that's really gone nowhere,
Yeah, I mean, there's something about this weapon, though, that is just enamors everyone. We've been running stories on railguns for a while, and every time we do, it always performs well. So there's just something about this technology. Not that that's a reason why, the DoD should spend probably closer to $1 billion, let's be real, if it was $500 million 4 years ago, on this type of project. But I think it was just the fact that over the long term, it could reduce costs so much in terms of munitions spending. That's what made it appealing. Plus, let's just be real, it's super cool. I mean, when you're shooting something 5,000 miles an hour, I mean, that's ridiculous.
They released one video of a test. It was like, okay.
Yeah, let's give this a shot. Yeah.
Well, and you're talking about, because Anna, that wasn't the one thing I thought about with the investment is that the allure was that, it would be pennies on the dollar compared to smart bombs and missiles because they use electricity instead of gunpowder or jets or rockets. But, it's really, really expensive paperweight now.
It's not going anywhere.
It's going into the Indiana Jones warehouse that you referenced the other week.
It's got to be a big warehouse.
Yeah, box it. We'll find, just make sure it's labeled. We'll find it later. All right. Next most popular story. Sticking with the Navy, the U.S. Navy creates a blast the size of an earthquake to test a ship. On Friday, June 18th, the U.S. Navy detonated a 20-ton explosive charge in a, quote, shock trial for its new aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford. The blast was so massive that it registered as a 3.9 on the Richter scale. That's the one for earthquakes. The experimental explosion took place in the Atlantic Ocean about 100 miles off the coast of Florida. The Ford, as it's known, is the Navy's most expensive warship and serves as the first in a new class of advanced aircraft carriers. The new ship was designed using advanced computer modeling methods, testing and analysis, but, you have to make sure that the ship can withstand real-world battle conditions. So, Jeff, they hit it with the most powerful non-nuclear explosive in the United States arsenal. And yeah, they're like, use the biggest one.
This was like a ton, right? It was
20 ton.
20-ton bomb. Jeez.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons I think watching this footage, it's why I joined the Army. Like when something bad happens, at least I'm on the ground. Like, I mean, this could have been terrifying. I can't even imagine what this felt like when you were there and feeling all that. What's interesting is actually this is the first of 3 of these types of tests that they're actually going to perform. So I just think it would be cool to get some firsthand accounts of like some of the sailors that were on this ship and what that actually felt like.
Yeah.
Not that they're probably going to be able to talk about it anytime soon, but pretty interesting. And the other thing I found out is actually this is not completely like a foreign concept. This is actually part of what the Navy does with a lot of new ships. It's called their full ship shock trial. And actually, this is the first one that took place since like 2016, I think, like in the last 5 years. But just the first time with this big of a bomb. Yeah. So the quality control efforts with the Navy are definitely moving forward pretty strongly right now.
I was just hoping communication was better than, we ran the military exercise that accidentally went into the factory.
The factory.
Yeah. I was just hoping that, the email made it to everybody. Like, FYI, we're going to blow the ocean into the air for a hot second.
This is a test.
Yeah, just a test.
Don't call your families.
Yeah. And it was, so the Navy has not performed a test like this on such a large-scale aircraft carrier since 1987. And, war preparation aside, this just had to be a fun day, Anna.
I guess.
A fun day in the ocean. Everyone hang on.
Yeah, I think there's still been some kind of weird follow-up to this exercise, which obviously everyone in the military kind of knew what was going on there. But like some people, I don't know if you guys saw this, actually posed a theory that the tests were what caused the tragic collapse of the condo building in Surfside, Florida.
Really?
Wow.
Because the Ponce Inlet is about 250 miles from where that disaster took place. And one expert told the Miami Herald that they would check it out. But there was another seismologist that they interviewed that was like quite a bit more clear in his response, basically saying that this size of an earthquake is actually quite common in the U.S. and is very, very unlikely that this played any role. So he said, let's see, I got the quote here. Given the size of the explosion, the distance from the building, and the time between the explosion and the collapse, we do not see any reasonable mechanism for the Navy explosion on June 18th to have triggered the collapse of the Miami Beach area condo on June 24th. He said there are about 300 earthquakes of similar size to the Navy explosion in the contiguous U.S. every year, none of which have triggered a major building collapse. So if you do see this story circulating or maybe on social media, you know how this stuff...
Oh, yeah. I can already see the memes.
Gains some steam, yeah.
David, when you're on TikTok... Just ignore this stuff. All the time you spend on there, I know.
I know. I do like to TikTok a lot.
Yeah, keep it off of TikTok or dispel this myth if you see it. This guy was the seismologist with the U.S. Geological Survey's National Earthquake Information Center. So I think he knows enough.
He's legit. And, he came out and said a little bit more than, we'll look into it.
Right? I know.
Yeah.
Like, we'll check it out.
I think to a lot of people, including us, like a 3.9, that sounds like something. But on the Richter scale, that's actually relatively minor, right? That's not considered a big earthquake either.
Yeah, we're in the Midwest, so we don't understand earthquakes really. We don't, I mean,
it registered, so that's a big deal to us.
Yeah.
But somebody in California is like a 3.9. I mean, that's not even my alarm clock,
No, what is it? So it goes to 10, right?
Does it?
Okay.
I don't even know. I don't even know the Richter scale.
Yeah, right. This is like a fun fact that has left me since grade school. No, that does, but I mean, that does sound, it's got a lot of the harrowing sounding words in it, but really it was just a test. It didn't knock down the building. That was the host of other problems that we're going to jump into right now.
Yikes.
Segue.
Second most popular story this week. Engineers say the building needed $9 million or more in repairs before collapse. Morabito Consultants is a structural engineering firm with offices in Maryland and Florida. In 2018, the company was hired by the Champlain Towers South Condominium Association in Surfside, Florida, to prepare the 40-year recertification of the condo building. The report detailed significant cracks and breaks in the concrete, which required repairs to ensure the safety of the residents and the public. The firm came back in June 2020 to put together a game plan for the necessary repairs and restoration work. When the building collapsed, roof repairs were underway, but concrete restoration had not yet begun. The owners of the 136 units were on the hook for more than $9 million in major repairs. The total jumped to $15 million with aesthetic repairs. Many people are still missing, and the remaining structure's instability has hindered the search for survivors. Engineers are also trying to find a way to bring the remaining structure down without hampering ongoing search and rescue efforts. Anna, this has just been a tragedy every day in Florida.
Yeah, it's really awful to observe. And, there's still a lot of unanswered questions, I think. Potentially there were failures on many levels, not least of which was the fact that the residents of this building were told that they were not in any danger. And then obviously that was not true. But I guess one of my first thoughts that I had when I was reading about the examination of this building and all the theories that they have as to why this happened is like right now I'm betting that concrete workers and structural engineers and contractors of many stripes are probably busier than they've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, with that high demand, I think like some people probably saw this and got spooked by it and are probably looking to get some of these people in their doors, take another look at their buildings, make sure everything's safe and operating properly, that they don't have maintenance concerns, what have you. And a lot of those people are going to have to wait,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't see like this, wellspring of tradespeople that are just ready and able to do the work right now. And it's really expensive. We've seen the price of materials go crazy right now, especially things like, steel, things that are used in like concrete rebar and stuff. It's not a good time to be like pushing this industry to help, but I know people will be looking to these folks to say like, come in and figure out, if we have a problem too.
Right. I mean, Jeff, I don't know if you've tried to do any repairs in your house, but I feel like they're hard to even get in the house right now.
Absolutely. Anybody who's seen the footage of that collapsing, how can you look and only think it's like $9 million that needed to be plugged in there?
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at what they were looking for, I think the owners or the condo association or whatever was looking for like a $15 million line of credit to do a lot of repairs. And a lot of it seemed more aesthetic. Mm-hmm. They did point out that they needed some structural repairs as well. But man, when you see that thing come down, that looked like a lot more than that to fix that and make that building sound and safe.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody knew something. I think this is one of those stories that is going to continue to generate headlines, especially in the aftermath. Once they get past, not that everybody will be able to get past, but once the news cycle moves past the tragedy of it and starts focusing on like the potential corruption and everything else that's involved here, this could be really a landmark sort of case or a case study in what not to do or what leads to more regulation in terms of who's qualified to build these buildings. This is the third one of these stories that I know we've covered recently. Mm-hmm. We've been tracking that one in San Francisco with that huge apartment complex there that had the leaning issue that they weren't sure how that was going to go. A couple weeks ago, when Andy was in, we talked about that building in China where the Chinese government was basically said, hey, it's fine.
It's fine.
Don't worry about it. Well, we keep going up. We keep building everything up. Maybe not everybody's qualified to do that type of work.
Well, and what I found, the dramatic footage aside, like it was at 1:30 in the morning. The other thing that I thought of was as some of these inspectors have come out sharing photos that they've taken of the facility, is that these are all maintenance rooms. All these people that were upset about the charges, and they were talking about, so being on the hook for it, depending on whether or not you had a single or a penthouse, you were on the hook for $80,000 to $330,000 for the repairs that needed to be started being paid by yesterday or by July 1st. And it was, I can understand why people were pushing back because it was out of sight. You know, like they didn't see the crumbling concretes. They didn't see the exposed rebar. And so in 2019, 5 people resigned from the condo board out of 7 on the condo board, partly because of the slow response to the major structural problems. And they cited everything from ongoing problems with ego battles to undermining the roles of fellow board members and gossip and mistruths. And it's just, at some point, everyone's got to sit down and say, we're having severe problems here, and we all need to work together to make sure everything stays, you know, safe.
Well, yeah. And, you know, we talk about infrastructure being this sort of boring issue that nobody wants to fund because you don't really get to see the results. I think we take for granted. We cover building collapses in developing countries much more frequently than this. You don't see this very much in the United States. And it's truly terrifying to think that this could happen here with the level of regulations and requirements that you need to have in place to build a new building. So it's just, that's really alarming. Probably a lot of these people didn't, you know, no one ever thinks their building is going to fall down, you know?
I think that's probably the most heartbreaking part of this. When you buy a house, there is some level of personal responsibility that you can accept because you can go through your house, you can see if things are going sideways. How do you do it with an apartment building like this or a condo building like this? I mean, you really are at the mercy of those individuals who built it and maintain it. And you're trusting them, and you're paying a lot of money to trust them.
Yeah, and just the stories we've heard about pumps running constantly to get water off of concrete and out of maintenance rooms and away from other equipment is just, it's tragic. It's everything about it's tragic. Yeah. Well, our top story this week, gas stations are running out of fuel as the 4th of July nears. Anytime we have a holiday weekend, gas prices are in the news. This year, the 4th of July was met with gas shortages and rising fuel prices. Fuel outages hit California, Colorado, and Iowa, among others, and the number of stations experiencing shortages is expected to grow. The cause of the shortage isn't demand or production, but the shortage of oil tank truck drivers. Oil tank truck drivers need special qualifications, which make it hard to find qualified drivers. And right now, gas is $1 more expensive than it was this time last year, and it's predicted to stay north of about $3 until fall. Anna, is this just our regular, it's summer, it's the 4th of July, let's talk about how high the gas prices are? As everyone gets in the car.
Well, I think you hit on it. I mean, it's the same drama that we had leading up to Memorial Day weekend, which was this shortage of tanker truck drivers. We've discussed this in the past. It's not the easiest job. It's not the best pay. And their numbers are not just being impacted by the same variables as like how the pandemic is impacting other industries. Like driver shortages are not a blip. We've been dealing with this for a very long time, and these circumstances are just making them worse to the point where consumers are beginning to feel it. And, you know, we're seeing this in other industries in ways we haven't in a really long time. But I found it interesting that AAA said that despite the highest gas prices in years, that like 91% of travel 4th of July weekend would be via car.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, you have the airline industry that we know is bouncing back somewhat, but they're like literally begging for business, and people are not ready to get on planes, I guess, despite this $1 more per gallon price increase on gas. So, yeah, I don't know. What gets Americans back on planes.
I think it's, with everyone driving, it's just right now a perfect storm of people are still kind of, got a little cabin fever, need to get out of the house.
Eager to get out on the road.
And they're just like, we got an extra day. We're getting the hell out of here.
Yeah.
No, it's, Jeff, I mean, you're still going somewhere.
We're still driving. I think typically we're looking at volatility in gas prices. It's a supply and demand issue. The prices go up and down, and basically the big refineries control that. When people are driving more, they're going to get as much as they can for each barrel of oil that they're selling. Gas prices go up. They usually come down around holidays, though, a little bit, just because they want to make sure people are driving and staying in hotels and going to national parks and all that good stuff, because that's a big part of, obviously, of the economy as well. But now, this is a totally different reason for there to be potential inventory issues with gasoline because we don't have drivers. And in my mind, I'll bring this argument up again. President Biden shut down a huge pipeline that was going to be going through for environmental reasons and pause some other developments for pipelines. If we can't find people to haul the gas, we're still driving more. 1% of all vehicles in the U.S. are electric. Okay?
Yeah.
We have not grabbed onto that like the rest of the world. So if we need gas, pipelines, they're more economical. They're actually safer environmentally than rail or truck. Maybe that's what we need more of.
I'm going to go back to my previous rebuttal and say we still need drivers to get it from the end of the pipeline to the gas stations.
Back those pipelines right up to the pump.
Right up? Yeah.
Right up to the pump.
Yeah, completely. Everything's hardwired.
Hey,
Yeah.
people need jobs.
That
We're looking
sounds-
for infrastructure improvement.
Well,
Sounds like nerve-wracking. You know how like when someone's smoking a cigarette outside the gas station and you like give them the evil eye?
yeah.
Could you
As-
imagine if there's a pipeline there and they were doing that?
Right?
I would be out of there.
I'm sure there would be safety measures in place to
Oh,
make
I'm
sure,
sure that
only
there
the
would.
state blew up.
Right.
I was curious. So, what's it going to take to move the needle on this problem? And actually, before we get started on that, just everyone, as you're filling up and gas prices are going through the roof, just remember it's because they won't let truck drivers use the potty. Now, what's going to move the needle on this problem? How expensive does gas have to get before you'll think twice about driving or actually be angry enough to yell at people to, like pay drivers more or whatever it takes to move the needle in terms of the worker shortage? I don't know.
It is taking better care of the drivers, in my opinion.
I agree.
That's a tough job. They're underappreciated, they're underpaid, and they're asked to do some, like, especially, I know some of this when we looked at it, a lot of it is like day type driving. Like it's not weeks at a time and stuff, cross country. Still, that's a hard day. You're still dealing with a lot of traffic and everything we were just talking about, increasing number of vehicles on the road. People are not always the best on the freeway, which is where these guys are going. So, yeah, I think paying them better, maybe even doing something where you have a tag team in the cab. So one guy drives there, one guy drives back. Whatever the case is, I do think we need to work on improving those conditions for those guys to get more of them out there. Because even though I do advocate pipelines, yeah, we need guys hauling gas.
Well, and it comes down to opening up the pool as well, because I believe that there is a minimum age requirements. I think it was 18, maybe it was 21 for drivers with these specific skills. And you just need to make sure that it's available to the largest pool of people, especially when nobody's taking the job, right?
Yeah.
You guys, do you think that tanker trucks are going to be first in line for autonomous trucks?
I think so.
Like, does that make you
Well,
nervous?
No, that's not true.
As long as there's a human being somewhere, they're not behind the wheel.
Yeah.
That's okay. If once we get it right, as long as it's not the Tesla autopilot that we're
You want a
relying on
backup
immediately.
driver. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say the first in line is definitely going to be Amazon delivery trucks because they have the capital to make that happen.
Yeah.
Maybe they should be the first in line to get it done. But
Yeah. Big oil has not had a great year or two.
mhm.
So maybe they're like, well,
Yeah,
subsidize it.
that's right. So curiously, the most expensive gas is in Hong Kong.
That makes
Would
sense.
you pay $9.60 a gallon for gas? And would you second guess where you drive for vacations?
How much do people get paid in Hong Kong?
I'm pretty sure it's not that. It's not equivalent. I don't know.
I don't.
Average wage.
So it's
in
three
Hong Kong.
times more.
3 times more expensive.
So here's the thing. So we're driving up north. It's 4.5 hour drive. But once we get there, we're there.
Mm-hmm.
So do I feel like I'm being, I don't know, hogging gas by doing that with my family? No, because once we get there, we're not, we're using kayaks.
You're
Yeah.
cracking a Mike's Hard Lemonade and just
Oh, come on.
We still
I'm
got that
actually
Rogue one in
I'm
the
going to be
fridge.
actually popping my favorite up north beer, which is a Point Amber.
Point beer. I like
Yes,
it. Yeah.
Yes. Eric is nodding his head, the Stevens Point alum. So I think that's one, it's not just cars. I mean, there is also, like right now in Wisconsin, we got a lot of boating going on and some other sources that are absorbing some of this. So I don't know. To like start pointing the finger at people, like you need to conserve gas more.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Would I pay $9 to go where we're going for gas? Yeah, I would,
okay.
because I'm not going to spend any more on gas once I get there. I'm
Yeah.
done.
And
Yeah.
it's a one and done. It's like your summer trip, right?
It's less than
Yeah.
if I got to buy airline tickets for 5 people.
Yeah. You can make a lot of the budget changes a lot differently.
Right.
Mhm.
So the average salary for a male worker in Hong Kong is $2,400 a month and $1,875 for females a month.
Yeah.
And they're paying $960. I'm guessing.
But
they're not
do
paying it
people
at
drive in Hong Kong?
all. Yes. I'm pretty sure. I have no idea.
We have no idea.
We'll follow up
We
on
are
that.
talking more about Hong Kong than we should.
Yeah.
Based on
Anna
our
is
level of
grilling
knowledge.
David on Hong Kong.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's worse because I have like the average in the UK is still $6.92, but in Venezuela, it's about 8 cents a gallon. So I was
Let's
just
not throw Venezuela out as any type of economic role model.
No, I completely understand. I just wanted to see some of the prices from around the globe just to see like at what point would people finally just say, okay, we got to fix the problem.
Now-
or not just, it's not my problem.
Now, when you're talking about $9 a gallon for driving to work or driving to a store, yeah, at that point, then you definitely start thinking about it more.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's where, like we were talking about ride sharing last week, then maybe that's where that comes into play when
Mhm.
gas gets that bad, because then that's real.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, like when we're talking about rising gas prices and it goes up a quarter, do you think about that? I notice it when I pay, but I don't really think about it changing anything
Yeah.
for me. I don't
Like,
know.
honestly, with the story, when I read that it was $1 more expensive this year than last year, I was like, oh, I didn't recall that at all. Like, I didn't notice the dollar shift over the year.
Well, I remember how cheap it was last year.
It was
for a
so
while.
cheap.
Yeah.
So like that's not like our baseline, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think that's fair.
Okay. Well, let's move on to, in case you missed it before, Anna asked me about about
One more
salaries
question,
in the UK
David,
and
if you
Venezuela.
will, about Hong Kong.
How about Myanmar, please?
Not good there. Things are not good. No. All right, Jeff. What is your in case you missed it this week?
Okay, so I have realized that, like, when we talk about stuff in the office, I can tend to be the guy who sort of shoots holes in things,
Mhm.
gets a little negative. But this story is one of the reasons I think why I have become that individual. Okay, so we covered a while ago about Mexico's transit system. Their metro had that horrible accident. That bridge collapsed, killed 25 people. Horrible, horrible situation. There was a long track record of poor maintenance records and everything else with that. Well, I saw this headline, and at first I was like, this is awesome, because it's Mexico's richest man to rebuild and pay for the collapsed subway.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This individual is stepping up because this is such a heavily traveled public transit system. This individual wants to help all these people.
He's going the extra mile for his community.
No. No. And first of all, I should have known something was up. The guy's name is Carlos Slim.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't trust him based on
Yeah.
that?
I want to, Anna. That was the second paragraph of the story. I'm like, no, I'm going to keep going. This is going to get better. Well, Carlos Slim is a multi-billionaire, okay? Mexico's, again, is the richest man in Mexico. What he said is he went to the Mexican government. He said, you know what? Don't worry about any of this stuff. I'm going to clean it all up and I'm going to rebuild it.
Mhm.
Well, the reason why is his companies are the ones that built it in the first place.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
So Mexico is so excited that somebody's going to foot the bill for this. They're basically going, you know what? We know, because we brought in a consulting firm that said he didn't use enough steel.
Mhm.
The steel that he did use was welded horribly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the concrete that he poured on everything to hide the crappy welds and lack of steel was defective.
Mhm.
But you know who we're going to trust to rebuild this thing? Carlos Slim.
He's
Are-
going to do it right this time.
This time he's going to
Mhm.
make up for it.
Yeah.
Are people pushing back?
No,
Okay.
because this guy has so much political clout.
Mm-hmm.
He is also building this huge railroad structure that's apparently going around like the whole Yucatan Peninsula
Mm-hmm.
in Mexico. And because he's also tied to a lot of other higher up officials in the Mexican government, everybody's like, this guy's a hero.
Yeah.
This guy's amazing. Look at what he's doing. When the reality is, by swooping in and doing this, not only is he removing any potential investigation possibility for people looking into how responsible he would be for the death of 25 people.
Wow.
I mean, forget any kind of criminal acts. What about the families there who could potentially come back at these companies and say, look what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Look what you didn't do, and look at what happened. But because he's going in there, cleaning everything up, rebuilding it, everything's cool. And when they asked the Mexican officials, like, how much is this actually going to cost, Mr. Slim? Their response is, well, we're not really talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to talk about that. Now, if this guy really wants to be a good Samaritan, what he should do is say, bring in whoever you want to build this thing, and I'll pay him.
Yeah.
But that's not what's going on. because I'm sure if anybody else comes in to clean this up and look at it, they're going to be saying, what were these guys doing?
Wow.
This was done horribly, and chances are it's going to be done horribly again. So these poor people in Mexico City relying on this metro system to get around, they're basically going to be back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to believe that he's just going to flip the script and be like, you know what? Yeah, I got to do it right this time.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
It's this is PR 101. He's taking control of the situation.
But it's so transparent.
Oh, it's very
I
transparent.
mean-
And I picture them just kind of pushing the concrete back up on the pedestal and going, fine. Trust
Horrible.
us this time. I don't know. It's really frustrating when you see people wind up in these like situations where they're about to be fooled twice. But I don't know. That seems all around bad.
It's not going. It's just hard to believe that this is actually a solution.
Mhm.
And it's just unfortunate that Mexico City is in such a tough economic situation where they don't have a lot of choices.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
The metro is already operating at a loss. We covered that. We talked about how little it cost to ride, how much little revenue they had coming in. So they're looking to somebody to be the good Samaritan here. It's just the wrong dude.
Yikes.
Maybe he will do it right, learn from the error of his ways, and then fix the rest of the subway.
That is one. You have been reading a lot of wonderful stories to your boys. I can tell where
The
it's always got the
end.
happy ending.
Yeah, no infrastructure problems. Also, is he like Mexican Elon Musk?
No, he's like,
I didn't want to say like not counterpart.
I mean, he's an engineering
Bizarro.
and construction guy.
oh okay.
So, I mean,
Well, just because you were talking
I
about
don't know
rail,
who that would be.
it was
Yeah.
like rail infrastructure, other stuff like that. It
Mhm.
just that was the vibe I got when you were talking about it. So big miss on my part.
But I mean, maybe that's where they should go. Bring Musk in, dig some tunnels.
Yeah, right.
You know, prop up the sagging city that we talked about before. Mexico City is also like dropping because the aquifer underneath it is being
Yeah.
depleted, and they've got some problems.
The city's sinking. Bring in Musk to make more holes.
Yeah, put a tunnel under it.
right. Swiss cheese or sinking island.
Yeah.
Anna, what's your in case you missed it this week?
Speaking of really rich dudes, Richard Branson has revealed that he plans to take a ride in the Virgin Galactic spacecraft, his own company, and he is going to go to space before Jeff Bezos' previously scheduled July 20th launch via his Blue Origin rocket. So I guess prepare yourself for Elon Musk to just like quick hop on a SpaceX like this weekend just to like get in front of these two guys. But I don't know. I don't know about you guys. Like maybe this is just like a harmless tit for tat and I should just enjoy the spectacle. But something about this just really irritates me. Like the world's wealthiest people trying to outdo each other on a international stage. Like it just feels sort of immature to me. I don't know. I must like.
Well, how do you feel if you're one of those Virgin employees that got laid off, and now your boss, the guy like, you know, you've probably drank a little bit of the Kool-Aid anyway if you're lurking there, and you know, Richard Branson, such an
Yeah.
iconic individual.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, he's focused on important things, like getting a ride to space before Jeff Bezos.
Well-
9 days earlier.
Right. Yeah. So he says that he needs to take a ride on this ship to instill confidence in consumers
Mhm.
in order for them to trust the technology as well, which I get. But this, like, I'm going to do it right now, though. Like,
Yeah, the
oh,
timing.
that's just so annoying to watch. Like, you two, it's great that you guys have so much money. You should just buy like some Renaissance paintings and just one after the other and show each other them via, I don't know, like whatever rich people do.
This holographic screen that they've developed.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm much more interested actually in seeing. So this guy named Wally Funk, he's one of the last surviving members of the Mercury 13. He is actually going with Jeff Bezos to space as an honored guest, and he is 82 years old. So he's going to be the oldest person in space, which I feel like is much cooler than like the richest person in space. Like I don't care who
Oh,
that
yeah.
is. Good luck to you guys. I hope you guys win your stupid contest.
I gotta say, at least Richard Branson, the most good-looking CEO out there. Anyways, I trust him. Like, he has done a lot of philanthropic work.
The best looking seat. That's why you're trusting him?
Absolutely, he has the cleanest snow white beard and hair. There's no way he's lying to you behind that smile.
So what about like, so like when Kenny Rogers was alive, he was your most trusted entertainment superstar, right?
He was
White
a
beard.
gambler and a hero. No, I trusted him hands down, Kenny Rogers, until he changed his face, became quite untrustworthy.
How much oatmeal do you eat?
Plenty. More in my older age. Richard Branson, I at least, when he does sort of these PR, he does these promotional stunts. I don't know. His approach to his businesses is a little bit more laissez-faire than Bezos and Musk.
Well, he's British, right? So like he's more reserved.
Yeah, so that's it.
Naturally than us
It's
like
the accent and the beard and the
boorish Americans.
Yeah.
That oatmeal thing was a Wilford Brimley reference, by the way.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know if that was clear. It wasn't.
I got it.
No.
You
Okay.
just rolled right with it.
Oh, yeah,
I
no.
didn't think Kenny Rogers was into oatmeal.
Yeah,
but-
no, fired right through. I was like,
We don't know that for
I'm
sure.
like, is there some sort of lyric in The Gambler about oatmeal? That is a deep cut.
David knows more about Hong Kong than he knows about Kenny Rogers.
My, in case you missed it, stories that we, weren't as popular this week, but, we want to give a little bit more attention, was an interesting one about a shipping error that sent a machine cross country. Little Brother Chinese Food sells frozen dumplings in Portland, Maine. Demand was up, and so the company ordered a custom dumpling machine from China in March that could increase production by 3,000 dumplings per week. So it's going to be huge business. It was delivered in May, but the problem was that it was headed for Portland, Oregon.
Oops.
By the time the co-owner, Richard Lee, caught the mistake, it was already in the water and nothing could be done. And according to customs broker Ocean Air, this is a common and very costly mistake that happens to a lot of smaller companies. In shipping the machine cross-country, where it needed to be cost almost as much as the machine itself. And that was just a bummer. We talked about problems with the shipping industry. And when we talked about problems with the shipping industry, one of the things I never thought about was what happens when it's in the water and it's going the wrong way.
Well, and they caught it, right? Like they called when it was in the water.
Yeah.
And
there was
just missed it.
Yeah,
It's not like
just
they
missed
could
it.
stop the ship and turn.
Yeah. Sorry, we'll turn this
Wrong
around.
coast.
Just
Yeah.
hold
Billions
tight.
of dollars of other
Yeah.
equipment on here. Yeah. But it's
how is that common?
actually,
I said it, yeah.
anecdotally, I recently did a story on a small machine shop, and he talked about all the problems. He was talking to me about all the problems he had shipping with trains, because essentially you just had to get it on the skid, and then really you were relying on them to get it from A to B.
Mhm.
He had machines fall off of trains,
Oof.
just not show up. He had, he's had shipping problems where you hire a logistics company and really all they're doing is getting that crate to the other destination. They don't care anything about like, oh, there's extremely sensitive electronics and sensors in here. And so it is a large issue for these small businesses that maybe don't have as much time to dedicate to make sure that it's being done as carefully as possible. I mean, that's huge. Like, think about it. Your dumpling company is exploding. I don't know how much this is going to increase production. And, you order this custom machine, it's coming, and it's like, it's on the other side of the U.S.?
Yeah.
Can we go get it? I don't know. It just, it seemed like really frustrating.
Well, and I felt bad for him too in reading this because I remember this one because I looked at this one a little bit closer too. But once they got it, they were thinking it was going to be just like a plug and play, like no problem,
Mhm.
whatever is needed to be done to create a dumpling. I am not going to speak on any level of knowledge of that, but
Yeah.
they thought it was going to be pretty straightforward to use, and it's super complicated, apparently, this machinery. So they went through all of this to get it. Super expensive. They get it there, and they're still sort of trying to figure out how to use it.
Can't use it. Yeah, no, that's another problem with automation is I always talk to people is what kind of training do you need to give people?
Mhm.
Because, they're finally, our business, we're back in business. We're making more dumplings. How does it work?
Yeah.
Like, it's, I don't know. It just, it's a problem for small businesses, and that's what we're here to cover.
Yikes. I know someone who was trying to fly to Austin, Texas, and accidentally got on a flight to Boston at the airport. And she flew to Boston. They didn't,
What?
it was like halfway, she was like halfway there before they realized. Because she heard it on the loudspeaker and just went. And they didn't check her ticket because it was like last person on,
Yeah, she just runs on.
Whoa.
So when I say that this sounds like a ridiculous mistake to make, maybe not. I don't know.
I've never done that, but I have gotten the midnight noon thing mixed up on
Oh,
a
yeah.
ticket before.
Yeah.
That sucked.
I will, I'll say that a significant other of mine, we were headed to a wedding.
If there's multiple,
Yeah,
just the one,
But
right?
the biggest, I mean,
the current.
the two of us between, like, we've had some traveling mishaps along the way. I mean, some of them are self-inflicted, some are honest mistakes. But we were heading to a wedding in New Jersey, and I get to the airport and I check in, and I'm just like ready to roll. And she walks back to me from the ticket counter, and she was all upset. What's going on? I booked my ticket for next weekend. So I didn't go as a bachelor. We just sent a card. You know. But these things happen.
They
you know?
happen.
Yeah, they happen to the best of us. All right, moving on to our final thoughts this week. Jeff, what's your final thought?
So next week, I'm looking forward to doing two things that I have not done in a very long time. We're going up north. So I'll be going after some bluegills and bottle bass. But
Yeah.
I think we'll actually get into like a restaurant,
Oh,
which like for the five of us, the whole family to be in a restaurant eating together, I'm like just really looking forward to that.
Mhm.
Just not cooking and going out. That should be awesome. Also, with Black Widow coming out, I think I'm going to go to a movie theater
Whoa.
for the first time in like a year and a half.
interesting.
So I am very excited about the next week and a
Yeah.
half
Yeah.
about the little things, appreciating the little things, I guess.
I mean, if you're going to a Northwoods restaurant, you can't trust that Yelp review, the lone one.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of Yelp reviews for Salon Springs, Wisconsin, so I think we're okay.
All right. It'll be nice
just live
to get out.
dangerously. you
That's
know?
right. That's right. I was actually thinking the same thing at going to a theater, and I'm still kind of like, is it going to be all right? No, but to that point, I just wanted to use my final thought to let everybody know that we are going to be out next week. We kind of take a week off as an office to kind of get a little R&R, decompress, and really just get out of each other's space for a bit. And even though we've been working remotely, feels like we've been in each other's space a little bit. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, so we won't have the podcast next week, but the following week we'll have one out. Anna, what is your final thought this week?
I just wanted to mention to everyone that I saw a news release that Pabst is producing a 1776 pack
Mm-hmm.
in honor of 4th of July. Jeff's given that a slow clap, and I don't blame him.
Yeah.
So 1,776 beers in honor of America.
I mean, it's a long weekend.
But could you imagine showing up at that party? How amazing would that be? And there's a 1776 pack there. That would be incredible.
It would be so heavy. How would you?
It's so heavy.
I mean, I don't know if you in the release, if you got to see it. I mean, it is
It's awesome.
the full back of an F-150.
Yeah.
And more credit to them because it is definitely just packaged like one case.
Mhm.
I mean,
It's hilarious. Yeah.
It is fantastic.
I thought they were
Yeah.
visionaries for the 99 pack.
Yeah.
And
I
then
know.
they come out blasting with a 1776. I thought it was 1776.
Well, that doesn't make any sense, Alex.
One too many. Again, Pabst doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, we get the message, Pabst, and I like it. So I know that this is going to air after the 4th of July. I hope everyone's okay. I'm not going to tell you to drink this, but
You
just
should
know,
try.
know it's there. And for the following weekends.
Right.
It might last a while.
Yeah.
Unless you're having a really good party. Yeah.
Right. The note from the shadows was Alex, resident PBR fan. So if we're gonna get our facts checked,
He's the one. He knows. Yeah.
he's gonna have that right. All right. Well, very good. I hope you guys all enjoy your time off, and I look forward to seeing you again the following week.
Is that right, Alex?
You know, that voice from the side in the shadows was Alex, our resident Pabst expert, who clearly got it wrong. Yeah, because I thought 1777 was one too many.
Yep. We're going to have to get a new Pabst expert.
Yeah.
Or a new audio visual nerd.
What if? No, don't cut this out. What if? Like, who's the person who has
Abuse of power.
1776 beers, and who's the guy at the end that's just like, if only there was one more?
Like at least 3 or 4 people in this room.
That's true. That's true. Right? Save those tabs. Give them to education. All right. Well, for Jeff and Anna, I'm David Manti. And before we leave, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Also, you could do us a big favor by leaving us a positive review on whatever platform you use. Finally, if you want to reach us, You can reach us at Jeff, Anna, or David at email the podcast in the subject line. And again, we're calling it the Holodeck now in the new studio, but if you have a better name, send it over because it is just, I mean, you got the fact wrong, Alex, but you guys did a great job on the studio, so well done. You going to hit it? All right. I'm David Manti. This is the Today in Manufacturing podcast. We'll see you next week. Nope. We'll see you the following one. All right.
Thank you for listening to the Today in Manufacturing podcast.